Leila.
And I'm Laura.
And this is For Your Penjoyment, a show about fountain pens and the joys they bring us.
Brought to you by Pen Boutique.
So I wanted to start with a little check-in. How you doing, Laura?
Doing pretty well. I'm excited about our second episode.
I am too.
I was really encouraged by all the positive comments people left on our first episode and constructive feedback, which was helpful.
Definitely will help us refine the show.
Yep.
So thank you for all your comments.
Really appreciate them very much.
And the words of encouragement were definitely heartwarming. So, there's been a lot going on in the shop recently.
Yes, there has. It's been very exciting.
Absolutely. Do you want to talk about last week?
Last week was amazing. We had a 3-day visit from one of my favorite guys who I met last year when he came and did an event here, Nibmeister, Kirk Speer. He is a really, really talented Nibmeister. Actually, our other special guest, Scott Hammer, called him a rock star.
And rock star is a fitting description of Kirk. He's self-taught, which blows my mind.
Is very unusual in the Nibmeisting world.
Exactly.
He really does his own thing, which we're all about that. Mm-hmm. Really cool. And he's just like so nice and low-key and easy to get along with, and just, he's amazing.
And he has dad jokes for days because I mean he's a dad 4 times over. He'll tell you that. But the dad jokes are strong with this one, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
We had our second rock star in store, Mr. Scott Hammer, as you briefly mentioned. Scott is one of the most genuine people you will meet in this industry.
Yeah.
And it is a joy having him around anytime.
He's so sweet. He's been so encouraging to me personally, and I know you got to talk with him privately before everyone else showed up because you got here early, and he was super encouraging to you too.
He was. What is new in your pen world right now?
Well, this isn't new. I always answered like the opposite of what you actually asked me.
That's okay.
But because it was the 5-year fan-iversary of me being a fountain pen fan, I inked up my very first pen, who I don't use that much anymore because I have all these new cool pens. But my good old Metropolitan, I inked up with my very first big bottle of ink, which was Iroshizuku Kujaku, which is this beautiful peacock blue color. And I had forgotten what an incredibly smooth, amazing writer this little guy is. It's just a really good pen. Absolutely. I mean, it's just a wonderful workhorse. And I've been using it for the past, week. And I love it. I love that ink, which I didn't use that much, to be honest. But now I'm crazy about it. And it's like, there's things like that. You'll buy something and be like, oh, this is cool, but get distracted by other stuff. And then you try it again, and it's like you rediscover it, and you just get so into it all over again. It's like it's brand new to you.
It's nice to have that reminder of why you fell in love with it in the first place. Oh, that's so good. I love it. I got my first sailor.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I always appreciated the aesthetic of sailors, but for me, they were a little out of my price range until recently. Mm-hmm. So I was able to get a pen that just by color name alone is very me. Mm-hmm. I got a 1911L in Wicked Witch, which I love. It's right here. Nice little dark and brooding pen.
Very cool.
I filled it with the Sailor Shikiori ink in Yamadori.
Ooh.
And the sheen on the ink makes me so happy.
Oh my gosh.
And I got it in a broad nib, which is like a Western medium. Mm-hmm. So I've got good ink flow. That sheen comes through nicely.
Nice.
And it's little things like that make me so incredibly happy.
Yes.
So I'm very pleased.
I think we're both, for some reason, on the same page right now with that color. Mm-hmm. because that's very similar to the color that I put in my Pilot. And I also recently tried Yamadori, and I'm super into it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both like that kind of tealy, petrol-y kind of
Mhm.
colors. It's kind of like your new hair color, too.
That's right.
And I'm just really, really crazy about that color right now.
oh, same.
And I also newly put a petrol ink in one of my other pens. And I'm just like, I've got 3 pens, honestly, inked with very similar inks.
Yeah.
But they're all slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's like people wonder, why do you have more than one ink of the same color? Because they're different.
The subtle differences make a huge difference.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yamadori has that sheen.
Mm-hmm.
The Kujaku works amazingly in my Pilot specifically because of how wet it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the perfect pairing, the way the pen gets along with the ink.
Definitely.
And it's just, really, that color is, I'm all crazy about it right now.
Oh, I love it. All right, let's take a minute to talk about new stuff in the store that we're excited about.
Okay, cool.
If you don't mind my starting.
Absolutely.
I gave Sailor a little bit of flack last episode because of their constant coming out with different colors.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say that their Ringless Galaxy collection is stunning. I might be a little biased just because I did get my first Sailor recently. But
You were into it even before you got that pen, though.
I love jewel tones and I love sparkle, and that is what this collection is all about. It's interesting because Ringless Galaxy was actually a Japan-only release, but it didn't do so well in Japan just because of the size of it. It's a 1911L. The slim sizes tend to do better in the Japanese
Interesting.
market.
Oh, yeah, Scott told us about that. when he visited.
Exactly. So they brought it over to North America, and their loss is our gain because it's such a beautiful pen, and I have become a Sailor Nib fangirl overnight. I finally get the basis of their appeal. So let's just say Ringless Galaxy and Crab Nebula is on my wish list for Christmas.
Now, that pen comes in like 5 different
Five
colors,
different
right?
colors,
And they're
yep.
all really beautiful, but
Yes.
like suit different people.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't he say that the price is like extra good because of the fact that it was kind of a flop in Japan, and so they're letting us take advantage of that?
Exactly. It's retails for $325, I believe he said.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
a really
that's a
good
great-
price for a 1911L.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Very
it
cool.
might not be super aspirational. Maybe I can achieve this pen soon. I'm
Get
excited.
your second Sailor. We'll see.
We'll see. What are you excited about?
Okay, I'm excited about, well, the thing I'm most excited about,
Please.
you won't be surprised, it's the new Pelican art pen.
Color me shocked.
I first found out about this pen at the DC Pen Show. This is kind of a long, not too long, but a little bit of a story. So I was having lunch with Bill, our Pilot representative, who's a really nice guy. He's really just like down to earth and low key and
And we'll be
easy
seeing him
for me to talk
December
to.
2nd.
Yes, I'm really excited to see him December 2nd. So he invited me to have lunch with him, and we were talking about stuff. And we started talking about Pelican, because I really like Pelican. And I had never met our Pelican rep, Gary. And he and Bill are old friends, actually. And Gary just happened to be checking into the hotel while we were having this discussion.
Oh, wow.
So Bill was like, hey, there's Gary. And he waved him over to introduce him to me, which was like, wow, wonderful. I was so excited to be able to meet him. And Gary was incredibly nice, too. And he had in his pocket this pen, which hadn't come out yet. And the one he had in his pocket was the only one in the world at that point.
Just casually sitting in his pocket.
Well, he had it in a pen case. Only about 20 people had seen it. And he was the only one in the U.S. who had seen it so far. Until he showed it to me.
Yeah. So you were the second person
Yes.
in the U.S. to experience this pen.
Yes. So
Wild.
he pulls out this pen, and the minute I saw it, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is one of the most beautiful pens I've ever seen in my life. I just really, really liked it. It's totally different from any of Pelican's other pens because it's made differently.
Mm-hmm.
The way that most Pelican Souverain pens is made is with a fabric bolt.
Okay.
Like that stripy stuff is
Right.
actually made out of basically fabric that's formed into
I had no idea.
a cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
This pen is not made like that. It has a brass barrel that's etched like a guilloche kind of treatment. And then it has, I think, 10 coats of lacquer are put on this after it's
Whoa.
etched. And then they print an image onto this lacquer. And the image that's on this pen was inspired by an art poster that was painted in 1911 for Pelican that was a contest they had. And this poster won the contest, so it got to be in the advertisements. And it's by an Italian painter named, I don't know how to pronounce it right, but it's something like Glauco Gambon. And when they decided what poster to use for this pen, they did a survey on social media to decide, and this was the one that won the survey as the one to do first. This is going to be a series, and this is the first in the series. And this it just blew me away when I saw this. It's almost holographic looking. When you turn it, you see like it sort of almost changes, and the colors in it are so beautiful. Mm-hmm. I was just stunned when I saw this pen, and I really want this pen, Leila. You know how I'm extremely thrifty.
But you're also extremely enthusiastic about Pelicans at the same time.
And I am honestly, I'm not lying, I am seriously considering buying this pen.
For you to consider it being as frugal as you are, that's impressive.
I'm very, very seriously considering it, getting it as a special, like maybe a Christmas present to myself or birthday present. I'm really into it. So I have it right here. I know you're not going to be able to see it that well, but I want to show it.
Let's take a look.
So it comes in this cool box that has the poster.
That has the poster,
and then there's like a tray underneath that has a big booklet telling all about the history of it and everything. And then like a little poster thing you can pull out.
Yeah.
And like, you can frame it or whatever.
How cool.
And here's the pen. So it's got like oranges and reds and yellows and greens, and see how when you turn it, it's like, oh.
It does have like that holographic luminescence that you were talking about.
It's so
May I?
cool. Yep.
That's a stunner.
And it's an M600, so it's kind of an in-between size.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too big for my hand, but it's not small either. It's I really love this pen.
I hope the planets align for you just right and you're able to get it.
Who knows, this pen right here may be my next purchase. This exact pen.
I hope so.
We shall see.
We shall see. Let's see. There's another recent release that I'm kind of excited about.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit I'm not usually drawn to pens by Auto Hut.
Ooh, I am, but
I know
not
you
usually you, yeah.
Exactly. Like, as we've discussed before,
Right.
I like sparkles and swirls.
And I like elegant.
But I also like bold, too.
Yep.
I like color blocking things. So they recently released a new color blocking set of pens.
Yeah.
One green and blue, one pink and orange.
Love that combo.
I love that combo, too. Now, I will say the pink does come through more as purple in person, but because they are on the opposite ends of the color wheel from each other, it makes sense still.
Mm.
And I've tried an Auto Hut nib before. I found it to be an enjoyable experience.
Their nibs are great. I own an Auto Hut, and I really like the nib. Yeah.
Exactly. And I just thought it was a bold choice for their colors.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that being released into the world and customers checking it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Now, we recently had a new Mont Blanc release.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Very cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the Muhammad Ali pen, which is a really cool topic for them to choose because he's so inspirational to a lot of people. And the way that they came up with all these really interesting details to represent him. I mean, they always do that in the Great Characters line, but it's really cool. My favorite one, and I know it's your favorite too, there's a little butterfly on the cap, you know, the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
That's right.
Really neat, and it's subtle, which is cool. You have to like turn the pen and it catches the light and you're like, yeah, that's so cool.
Exactly.
And then it's got other really interesting details that represent all kinds of different things about him.
Even like his title belt. As
Right,
well.
his title belt and different. It says, I shook up the world around the ring.
And he certainly did.
He did, absolutely. And then there's like the cap is kind of shaped like a punching bag. And then there's like ring things that represent the, what do you call those things? You know, like in a boxing ring, the thing that you get hit up against. There's a whole bunch of different things like that. It's so cool. And it's like a really classy pen, but bold looking and just, yeah, it's great. And we also have the ink and the notebook, and we have the pen in fountain pen, rollerball, and ballpoint. So
I love it.
that would be a really cool Christmas gift.
Oh, it really would be.
Yeah,
I know
it really
that
would be. It's special.
I know we have a couple of regulars that keep hovering around
Yeah,
the pen
we
every
had
time
some
they come
people
in.
that came in and they're like, okay, this is on my wish list.
That's right.
They really liked it.
It's a gorgeous set.
Yeah.
We got the newest Sailor release in their state line.
Ooh.
It's Utah and North Carolina.
Uh-huh. So I've got them right here.
Very nice.
We haven't swatched these yet, but okay, I opened these up. So here's Utah. And this one, you're going to like this. It says, this golden ink has notes of amber inspired by the naturally occurring topaz that has been dubbed the Utah State Gemstone. I know you like those kind of
I love
type of
gemstones.
stuff. Okay, and this one, okay, North Carolina. It's a reddish one. A berry brilliant red that mimics the color of a ripe strawberry,
Ooh.
which is one of the official berries of the state.
How cool is that?
I actually had strawberries in North Carolina because my parents used to live there,
Very cool.
and they're quite good, so that's a good choice.
I love it. You know, I love Sailor's creativity when it comes to this state line.
Yeah.
My favorite ink is sadly not Maryland, I hate to say, but it's our neighbor, Delaware.
Yeah, Delaware is a really beautiful one.
Delaware is a stunning ink, and it shows up differently depending on what nib you use, what paper you use.
Yes, so
It's-
fascinating
it's
because it's
quite a
got so much
chameleon.
sheen. So it, depending on how much the sheen comes out with the nib that you choose, it really can change. It's so fascinating.
It's really unique. I hadn't seen any ink like
Yeah,
that in a
yeah.
while.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very cool. I would like to talk about a theme for a second. The theme
theme?
of joy. We're called For Your Penjoyment. We strive to highlight the positives in the pen community, in our pen world. And we're embarking upon a time of year which typically sparks joy for a lot of people, but some people it's tough.
Yeah,
You know, this can be a tough time of year for some.
absolutely.
I was thinking about the concept of joy and how we all experience it in our individual ways.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, you know, I've had periods of depression this time of year. And in those times, I've had to create my own joy.
Yeah.
I think that's super important. Joy isn't this inherent thing. So when you do experience it, you should treasure it, try to capture that moment and remember it forever. You know what I mean?
I agree. Sometimes if you know that it's going to be a difficult time for you, you kind of need to take matters into your own hands and do something. Don't wallow in feeling sad.
Exactly.
You know, it's hard, but
Yeah.
but having a positive attitude is really important, and it affects your whole how you perceive things.
It does.
It really does.
It can really paint your worldview.
Yeah.
With Thanksgiving upon us, I like to think about what I'm grateful for. First of all, I'm thankful for meeting you and being a part of the Pen
Same
Boutique
here,
crew.
Leila. Same here.
You know, this has been a great job shift for me. I was an optician before, and just certain planets aligned, and I came to Pen Boutique, and my pen world expanded, and my friendships expanded.
Yes.
So I'm incredibly thankful for that. What's something that you can be thankful for around this time of year?
Well, this isn't quite related to what you're saying, but
Totally
sort
fine.
of.
It can be anything.
I know I told you that it was my anniversary of being a fountain pen fan.
Right.
So I decided to do something fun to celebrate that.
Tell me.
Well, first of all, I had a piece of cheesecake, which was really delicious.
Was it a flavored cheesecake or plain
Well,
Jane?
okay, so full story.
Mm-hmm.
I went out to dinner with Kirk Speer on his last day here,
Very cool.
and we went to Cheesecake Factory.
I'm not jealous.
And when he suggested, hey, let's go here, because there were like all these different restaurant choices, I was like, oh, does that mean we can get cheesecake? So at the end of the meal, like, he didn't actually want a piece of cheesecake, but he insisted I get a piece of cheesecake because I acted excited about it. So I did. And there were all these crazy choices that were like Leila type choices, you know, like million weird toppings and sparkly and blah. Guess which one I ordered?
Good old strawberry top.
Nope.
New York.
Classic. Nothing on the top.
There's beauty in simplicity, though.
Yes.
A good piece of cheesecake's a good piece
It
of
was
cheesecake.
the perfect choice. It was amazing. I loved it.
That is a great celebration.
Okay. And then after my piece of cheesecake,
Mhm.
I went out to a local cafe that was having my favorite band was playing live, just a local band. But I did something that I have never done before.
Really?
I didn't tell you about this
No.
yet, but I danced.
You danced.
Yep.
That's exciting.
And I'm like a very self-conscious kind of reserved person, so whenever other people are dancing, I'm like, oh, I'm not a good dancer. I'm not going to dance.
Laura, this is
I
making me
did.
so happy.
I did the first time ever I danced.
Oh, I wish I was there. I would have loved to see you dance. I would have danced with you.
Oh, maybe next time.
That's very exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh,
Right.
Laura, your faniversary sounds delightful.
It was.
I mean, I wish I remembered exact dates like that because I too would celebrate the new pen in my life. I mean, I remember the date of my new sailor.
And we need stuff to celebrate, you know?
Exactly. Like, we live in a world that's, is devoid of joy at times.
Yeah.
So celebrating even the little things like a pen
Yeah.
makes a huge difference.
Especially when the pen made such a big impact on my life. I mean,
It
look
changed
what
your
I'm doing
life.
now.
Exactly.
You know?
Speaking of which,
Yes.
tell us, give us an ink vent update.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have now officially, as of last night when I stayed up too late working on it, finished watching the ink vent calendar.
And how is it?
Oh my gosh. Okay. You, Leila, are going to really like this. There are so many sparkle inks this year. Sparkle and chameleon,
Okay.
which are the ones that look different depending on the angle.
Right.
So they're sparkly, but they also have sheen and like they change color. They're amazing. So yeah, there's tons of sparkly inks and there's some like really unusual colors that are just
Really?
they're gonna blow people's minds. Yeah, they're really cool. Now
I'm so
I'm not gonna
excited.
say I loved every color because there's
Okay.
25 colors.
25
you know,
colors, right?
I wasn't crazy about the Scented inks this year. I loved them last year. This year they didn't really turn me on, but it's only 2 inks.
Okay.
The sparkly inks, some of them are just wow. And I actually inked this pen with the one that I thought was the most amazing, and I want you to try it.
Oh my goodness. This is a joy in itself. Oh my gosh.
And I got a cursive nib in there, which I know is one of your favorite nibs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, this is a chameleon ink, so you're not going to realize right away how amazing it is. Wait till it dries and, like, look at it at different angles. I'm
Excellent.
not telling you what the name of it is because it's a surprise. You know, you want to not be spoiled.
Oh, I'm so excited. Let me let that dry down for a second.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, that's
Oh,
exciting.
And I wanted to mention this little guy. Oh my gosh. This thing saved me so much time, made it so much easier to do all these swatches. This is the new dip pen from Sailor.
The Dipton, correct?
Yes, it came with the super sparkly Dipton inks, which are like too sparkly to put in a fountain pen, so they come with this cute little dip pen.
And that has a Fude nib on it,
It has
correct?
a Fude nib, which is so awesome for testing inks because you can see, you know, how's this ink going to look with a fine nib pen? How's this ink going to look with a broad nib pen? Because depending on what angle you hold the pen at, it writes different line widths.
Exactly.
Unlike using a fountain pen to test inks, you don't have to clean out the feed. There is no feed. All you do is wash it around in some water. Rinse this clean. You can switch to the next color. So amazing. I have never used a dip pen before that I really was satisfied with the behavior. They always frustrated me. Love this one. And when Scott was here, he told us that there's going to be a new pen like this coming out.
Right.
It's called, I don't know totally how to
Hokoro?
pronounce it. Yes, Sailor
Yeah.
Compass Hokoro. So it's like this, but it comes with a few different color bodies, and there's a whole bunch of different nib options, not just the Fude. You could choose what nib you want.
Oh, that's exciting.
It's really cool, and I definitely want to get one. And you just pull this part out, swaps out. When you're transporting it, you could stick it in like this, protects the nib.
Oh, that's clever.
It's so cool. I love this. This is like my favorite invention of the year or the past 5 years. It's like
that's
really
great.
super. This is amazing. I love it.
I am such a fan.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to invest in one. Like,
And they're not expensive.
they are
either.
not expensive
No.
at all. It's definitely attainable.
If you love trying inks, this is the perfect thing for you. You need this thing.
You're
Yes.
inspiring me. I love it. Talk about penjoyment.
Uh-huh.
That's right. Speaking of nibs,
Yes,
last week we tried a bunch of nibs.
we did.
In honor of Kirk's visit, I wanted to get a feel for different styles of nibs. So we kind of went around the store and plucked a few that we were interested in
Yeah.
and gave them a shot.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun doing it.
We tried a lot of Esterbrook nibs and a lot of Pilot nibs
And sailor nibs as well.
Sailor nibs, right? And the Lamy
Lamy
Cursive nib,
Cursive.
which we already loved, but
We kind of use that as a basis for comparison. Now, Kirk, during his visit, brought a case of different Twisbees,
Yep.
all with different custom grinds.
They're so fun to try. That was amazing.
That was in the process of getting my own nib ground.
Yeah.
I got to try everything he had to offer. And, I love some more than others, but getting that experience made a huge difference.
Right, because there's all these wild nib choices that are out there that you don't even know exist
Exactly.
until a nibmeister shows up with this little bag of tricks, and you're like, what? What
Right.
is this? Like, you wouldn't even imagine this in your imagination, that a pen could write like this, and then it's your new favorite nib, you know?
Exactly. It just
Yeah.
optimizes the experience of
Yeah.
writing with that particular pen. So, in honor of that, Laura followed my journey getting my nib ground,
Yeah.
trying the different sample nibs he had to offer. Selecting one particular nib was a little agonizing, I'm not going to lie, because there were so many that I could see that pen accommodating. But ultimately, I went with the Imperial nib.
Ooh, fancy.
Writes beautifully, elevates my handwriting a little bit, which I feel is sloppy, but some people find it acceptable.
No, I like your handwriting.
Do
I
you
think It's
really?
nice. Yeah.
I've always found it to be like a cross between chicken scratch and cursive.
It's cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, the Imperial nib is great. It gave my pen from Little Pen Designs a new life. I named her Dolly.
It's a cute pen.
It's a very
It
cute
suits
pen.
you.
Suits me. It's in my wheelhouse. I love it.
But you can get custom grind on any pen if
You certainly
if you
can.
meet up with a nibmeister.
100%.
But if you don't have the opportunity to meet with a nibmeister, there are also a lot of they are custom grind, but not like done just for you, but they are done by Nibmeisters that are on the Esterbrook pens.
This is true.
One of them is by Kirk. It's the needlepoint. And
Yeah.
then there's, what else is there? The journaler nib.
and scribe.
Scribe. And those are done by two different other Nibmeisters.
And then I tried some sailor nibs. I tried the zoom and the music nibs, which I feel are variations on a stub nib. Depending on what angle you hold the pen, and if you write inverted, you get various line weights.
Yeah.
And that's really satisfying.
Yeah.
Now, you tried a bunch of different pilot nibs, correct?
Yeah, because I'm really into flexible nibs. And I own a Pilot Falcon, which I really like. And so I wanted to compare other flexible nibs that are available. Okay, so maybe I should explain this whole Falcon thing. It's a little confusing.
Sure.
So there's a pen which is called the Pilot Falcon. And it's got a semi-flex nib, and it's a special shape that allows it to be a little bit flexible. And that's the least expensive gold flexible nib that is available. But there's some other Pilot pens that are a little bit more expensive that have what's called a Falcon nib. So the name of the pen is not the Falcon pen, but the name of the nib is the Falcon nib.
That's not confusing at all.
It's very confusing, and it's available in the custom 912 and 743.
Correct.
So this nib is nothing like the nib that's in the Pilot Falcon, even though it's called the Falcon nib. It's got a shape with like kind of slits cut into the side, which allow it to be flexible.
Right.
So that nib is a lot more flexible than the one in the Pilot Falcon. It's pretty exciting to use it. Yeah, it's like the Falcon, you have to deliberately give it more pressure to flex. This nib, it's flexy. It's not quite as like wet noodle as some of these vintage pens were, but it's quite flexible. So it's, for me, it's a little bit scary to use, but thrilling at the same time. It's like you got to be ready for this nib. It's cool, and it gives a lot of line variation to your handwriting. It's really exciting to try that.
Curious to try that.
Yeah, it's
I'll have to dip test that when I'm in the store next time.
it's really cool.
Very
Yeah,
neat.
it's an exciting nib. So I also compared two other nibs that aren't advertised as being flex nibs, but just something about them makes them flexible. One of them is the nib on the Pelican M1000,
Right.
which, because it's so huge and is made out of, I think it's 21 karat
I do
gold.
believe so.
The softness of the gold and the huge size of the nib, it's just naturally, it's very bouncy, and you can actually get line variation and flex out of it, even though it's not a flex nib. I love that nib. The pen is a little too big for my hand, but it's an amazing pen. And the other one that I tried is something that we're newly carrying at Pen Boutique, kind of as a test to see how it does. Yes, Omas. So Omas is a pen company that was extremely well respected. They're famous for their nibs. It's an Italian company. I think it started in 1912, something like that. I don't know. It could be the wrong number, but around, and it was around for a really long time. It went out of business in the 90s, though. But people still really wanted these nibs, and they would buy vintage versions of the pen. But Omas just recently revived themselves. They're like risen from the ashes. So they're back, and people are still like, what is the new Omas? How does it compare to the old Omas?
Right.
So we have a few Omas pens in the store, and I was really excited to try one. And it does have an amazing nib. It's not like any other nib that I've tried. The shape is slightly different, but it doesn't have like slits in the side or any weird stuff like that. But just because of the shape, it's got this flexibility, kind of like the Pelican, without being a gigantic 21K nib.
Sure.
Just the way that it's structured allows it to be flexible, and that was really cool to try. I really, really liked the feel. And I kept thinking about it afterwards, like, ooh, I want more of this. It was really exciting.
I love that.
Yeah. And the
Very
pens
cool.
are very beautiful, too. They're a couple of the ones that we have are made out of celluloid.
Oh,
And
wow.
one of them is one of the original celluloid rods from the old Omas. The other ones are acrylic, so they're not quite as expensive, but they
Right.
still have this special nib. And they all have ebonite feeds, too, which is really special and allows your ink to flow better.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with the new Omas.
Yeah.
And I spoke to the brand ambassador, and he told me that the nibs are made to the exact same specifications of the old ones. So they, they really want to keep that special nib going.
Sure.
That's really important to them.
I'm glad they kept that feature when they revived the company. Very nice.
Yeah.
So, let me pose this.
Yeah.
Why would anyone want a custom grind on their nib?
Oh, so this is a totally new topic. Why would someone want a custom grind?
Well, we talked to Kirk.
Right.
We got a sense of what a nibmeister is.
Yes.
What they do.
Yeah.
And let's cut to the interview.
Oh, yeah, my interview.
It was a very fun interview. So, take it away, Kirk. All right.
So, Kirk.
Yes, Laura?
All right, so this isn't our first time talking.
Oh,
We did talk last year when you came to visit the store.
yes.
And I asked you some of these questions, but I don't remember any of your answers because I have an
Okay.
extremely bad memory.
Okay.
Plus, our viewers don't know the
Right,
answers.
right.
So
Yeah, let's
I'm
see if
going
I
to
remember the
interrogate you
answers.
all over again.
Okay.
Okay, so
Sounds
my
good.
first question is, what does a nibmeister actually do? Because people might have no clue what is a nibmeister.
Okay, that's a good question. A nibmeister simply just adjusts or customizes nibs so
Okay.
that they write in either a different way or improved way from what they were from the factory.
Okay.
Quite often, the initial purpose of a nibmeister is the tuning of a nib because the nib that you got from the store or the manufacturer is not quite perfectly aligned or
Okay.
has other issues, and so that's where we start.
Or maybe you just don't like the way it writes. Like you bought a pen thinking, I'm going to love this pen, and then you try it and you're like, oh, it's too smooth, it's too rough, or
Yes.
scratchy, whatever.
Sure. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Those are all things that nibmeisters do.
And then you also repair things that are broken, right? Like if you drop your nib on the floor and the
so
gets all
not broken in the sense of
Like,
two
but
separate pieces, but
twisted
if
or
the nib
bent
gets
or
twisted or bent up, then
Okay.
yes, we
Cool.
will repair them. So
Okay. And then what about like making a whole new cool grind? Like, can you tell me a little bit about that?
what do you want to know about making a cool
okay, so
grind?
let's say someone gets a normal extra fine,
Okay.
but they think, I wish I could get a nib that isn't available out of the box. So they go to Kirk. What
Right.
could you turn that into?
Well, for an extra fine, there's actually a very large variety of
Okay.
customs that can be done, including, needle points, architects, cursive italics, stubs, italics, and even Esterbrook's
No?
and food aids.
Food
Yes.
aids made by Kirk
Food aids,
for me.
Waverly's, posting nibs,
Okay.
Concords. There's a lot of other names for similar grinds. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
so yeah,
cool.
there's a myriad of customs that can be done from extra fine nibs. Generally speaking, what you want is to have either, if you're trying to get the maximum variation, you want the largest nib available to do that. So
You mean-
broad nib is going to give you the biggest variation.
Okay.
And extra fine is going to give you a small amount.
But
of
you just said
variation.
you could do a zillion things from extra fine. So
You can.
broad,
but
you
the-
could
but-
do like 3 zillion or something?
No, it's 1.1 zillion.
1.1 zillion, okay.
Yeah. So it's not magnificent.
But there's a lot of
Magnificable. That's a
different,
new word, everybody.
different things that
That-
people
that
probably
person
never
says-
even heard of that
Yeah.
you could do
Yeah, I
really
can-
interesting
Yeah, I can do
grinds.
things you've never heard of, and if
So-
you have heard of it, I'll give it a new name.
So let's say someone gets a different grind. how's it going to be different? The pen's going to write different, right? Like, instead of just
Right.
a straight line like a normal pen that might be a different width, what's going to happen? It might be,
Right. So the purpose of a grind is to give it a character to the nib, or to adjust it to your particular writing style
Okay.
or angle. So by giving it character, you're going to change the features of make it where a nib might write really narrow on one stroke and then write really wide on another.
Okay.
Or maybe you can, there's, the Fude mimics a paintbrush. So there's all different types of customs that can be done to
So it's
just
kind
give
of-
character
yeah,
to your
just-
writing.
people might not even be able to imagine all these different cool things a fountain pen could potentially do if they have these interesting nibs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's limitless.
How does someone figure out what weird nib they might like? They probably, best way would be to,
Yeah, the best way is to find a nibmeister at a pen show or at a store event. Most of us have testers that you can try out a variety of different
Right.
grinds from, and then a lot of us have similar grinds with different names.
okay.
And so, just asking them about what they're doing and
Oh, like
and
one
just-
nibmeister might call this grind some name, and another nibmeister might call it a different name because he has his own.
Exactly. Yeah.
little
So
special
there's some grinds have proprietary names and stuff like that. So not all nibmeisters use the same names for every
Oh,
single grind,
okay.
though there are some that are common.
Okay. So, like, you had, how many did you have? Like 8 or 10 different Twisbys
I think I
set
have
up with
10 or
different.
11 on my
Okay.
display tray, but then there's probably about 15 or 16
That you
common
could
grinds
do,
that I
but you-
do fairly often.
Okay,
And
cool.
then there's even more than that can be done that are not super common.
So, one of the grinds that you do is the needlepoint grind for Esterbrook. You teamed up with Esterbrook, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me anything about that? Like, how did you,
Yeah. So
did they reach out to you and
we-
say, Kirk, we want you?
Yeah, they
basically?
said, Kirk, we tried everybody else, and nobody else wanted to make something this small. So
Okay.
can you please make a needlepoint for
Okay.
us? And I said, sure.
So, why would someone want a needlepoint?
Needlepoint is very useful for a lot of things. Sketching and drawing, in particular, they're great for. But also, if you write small, like if you use the Hobonichi Techos and all the plotters and all the little journaling books, they're really great for really writing.
Right, they have
small,
a teeny little
small
grid that
print,
you have to
yeah.
fit.
Right, and then also if you use paper that's more absorbent or whatever,
Right.
or you got that crappy
Feathering
office paper,
problems and stuff.
it reduces feathering and other
Yeah.
undesirable traits of
Very
writing with
cool.
a fountain pen. So,
And I've tried your needle points, and
Yeah.
even though they're so fine, they're
Yeah.
not scratchy. It's
Right.
surprising that you're able to get a nib that fine without making it scratchy.
thanks. I do
Very
get lucky
cool.
sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so I have another question. How did you get into meisting in the first place?
Well, I got into being a nibmeister by first repairing my own nibs
Ooh, okay.
and doing work on them. I had amassed quite a large collection when I first got into the
So
hobby.
you were
and-
pretty into pens before
Yeah, I
you ever...
have
Yeah.
some pens.
You have some
And,
pretty cool pens.
Thanks. And so as I was doing that, I got pretty good at it, and I was showing my repair work on social media, and
Cool.
and people were like, "Yeah, that's cool, but can you do a custom grind?" And so I was like, "Well, let me see." And so
So you're self-taught pretty
I am
much? Like you didn't
self-taught,
have
yep, there's
an
no-
apprenticeship or anything?
no apprenticeship or
Cool.
overseas journey or battles or anything like
Okay.
that.
So when you're really like doing an actual grind, you use
Yeah.
like a Dremel, right?
It's like a Dremel,
But it's not a Dremel.
right?
It's a Dremel knockoff.
It's no, well, no,
Oh,
no.
it's similar. It's like a thing, a motorized
a-
thing
yes,
with
it
a
is a-
grindy wheel that
yes,
spins around
it's a-
really
yeah,
fast.
Right, it's a grinding
Yeah.
wheel. There's many different types. You see, mine is just a little small handpiece
Right.
style. You'll see other nibmeisters using big Fordham wheels and
Oh,
stuff
wow,
like
okay.
that.
I've never met any other
And then a lot of the
Nibmeisters.
Japanese styles have the just a small spindle on a motor that
Oh,
has
wow.
many different
Okay,
little
interesting.
polishing stones
Cool.
and polishers on there that they use to shape the nib.
And then you also use these things that are kind of like really super fine grit sandpaper, basically. It's not
right.
called sandpaper,
Right,
though.
it's called micromesh, and
Okay.
that's so after we've done our rough cuts and everything on the nib, it'll have some light burrs and stuff like that,
sure.
and maybe you need to round edges or something like that a little bit and a little bit more than you did on your grinder, and so you'll use micromesh to do the final polishing and smoothing.
All right, and I've seen you use that when you don't grind at all. You just are tuning someone's
Yeah.
nib, and you just use the micromesh,
Yes.
right? Do you have a favorite custom grind yourself?
Yes, it's
What?
the one that the customer across from me asked for.
What about if you were going to grind your own custom grind? What would you want?
I actually quite often do hybrids of normal grinds for myself.
Hybrids.
Kind of funky playing with.
Do you
with
think
the way it
Battle
writes.
Cat is a hybrid?
No, I think he's purebred.
He's purebred. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean the yellow stripes makes it pretty obvious.
Thank you for being here, Kirk, and for putting up with our goofiness today in the store. It was very fun having you, and I hope you're going to come back again next year.
I probably will.
And we really appreciate
All I
you
got is need is an invite.
on the second episode of our show.
This is the second episode.
You're our first ever
Wow.
guest, Kirk.
I'm the first
Yes.
guest. Whoa.
Yes,
I
you
do feel
are.
special.
Now,
You might
I
wanna-
feel like I should mention that Kirk, along with Carrie from Estabrook, they are the two people that told me I needed to go to pen shows and encouraged me to go, and I'm really, really thankful
Yeah.
for that
Good.
because I love pen shows.
Awesome.
Yep.
I'm glad to hear it.
Always
It's
great
been
to
an
see
honor
you.
to be on your first show. I hope you
Thank
guys
you.
don't reject all this and throw it in
She's
the
gonna
trash and
throw it on the
and
cutting
get
room
somebody
floor,
better for the
but,
first show.
You know. Thank you, Kirk.
Well, Laura, that was a great interview.
Thank you, Leila.
Thank you for sitting down with Kirk and talking with
I
him.
really like Kirk, so he's easy to talk to.
Very good.
Uh-huh.
That ink that you let me try,
Oh, yes.
the chameleon, is a stunner.
So you had to take it out into the right lighting to look at it. But
Exactly. That shift, that sparkle. I'm not going to give it away.
yeah,
You're going to have to get the ink vent for yourself. But it's a winner.
It's very cool.
I love it. Thank you for letting me try that.
Yeah.
On that note, I think we can wrap up this episode. I think it's another joyful episode of For
Yeah,
Your
but you know
Penjoyment.
what we forgot?
Oh, did we?
Our goofy segment.
Oh, our silly question.
Yes.
So, Laura, if you had to identify with any nib, what would be your answer?
So the nib that would represent me.
the nib that would best represent you.
Okay. So I think the nib that best represents me is the soft, fine nib on a Pilot Falcon because it's got a lot of control, which I have, but it can also be very flexible, like me. And it's just kind of a not crazy and out there, but it's got some unexpected things about it that surprise you and make it special.
You are a soft fine. I can totally see that comparison. I love that.
Okay.
Now, I'm on kind of the opposite
Yeah,
end of
kinda.
the spectrum.
Yeah.
I think if I had to identify with any nib, if I had to find a nib that best represented who I am, I would probably be a fude.
Ooh.
You know, depending on what you need me to do.
Uh-huh. You wear a lot of hats at Penn Boutique.
I
that's
wear a
for
lot of
sure.
hats at Penn Boutique. I wear a lot of hats in my everyday life.
Yeah.
And depending on how I'm feeling, how I'm held, how I'm handled, I can be anything you want me to
And you
be.
got kind of a wild look like that flippy fude now, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty extreme looking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I could be a little extreme,
You
I have
can.
to say.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Cool
reminding me of our
answer.
silly episode, our silly segment.
Yes, we decided we need a silly segment in every episode because silliness is very important.
Silliness is extremely important.
Yes.
So stay tuned for what we have to offer next episode. On that note, Laura, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving.
I hope you do too.
And
You know what else we should do?
what's that?
Ask people to like and subscribe and all that stuff, which we forgot last time.
We certainly did. We would be incredibly grateful and touched if you liked and subscribed to our channel, the Pen Boutique Plus. We have a playlist going for episodes of For Your
Yes.
Penjoyment. Definitely check that out. And if you want to hit the notification bell, you'll get notified of every time we upload to the channel.
And we really, really love your comments. Thank you so much.
Keep them coming.
Yes.
Any feedback is appreciated. So, thanks, Laura.
Okay, it's a wrap, I guess.
That's a wrap. Happy Thanksgiving to
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great day.